Hey, my name is Eric Stoff. I make music with my wife and my friends in a band called The Stoffs, and you are watching the first official video of a new video series called Little Flock Deconstructed, in which I go through every song on our new album, Little Flock, and I talk about the inspiration behind the lyrics, what the song is about, and then all the production techniques that went into creating the songs. I absolutely love researching and digging into music that I enjoy as a listener, learning more about the story behind it. So I wanted to create a resource for those fans of mine who want to learn more about how and why I created the music that I created. Today we're discussing the first track on the album. It's called Payday. So we're going to discuss the lyrics, what it's about, some of the references throughout, and then also the production techniques that went into shaping the song. But first, how about a cool little bumper video? Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick little reminder. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and then follow me on Instagram at Eric J. Stoff. All right, so Payday, as you can tell from the song title, it is about money and the multifaceted beast that money can be. In the song, I really tried to take on a character of a husband who is totally consumed by money. Money controls his emotions. Maybe he's irrational, maybe he's not even totally honest about money. Now, it's important to note that I approach the writing of these lyrics with like some dark comedy and some sarcasm. I do have the potential to be the character I portray in the song, and I fight very hard to not be that person, but the underlying truths are all there. So the opening lines are, "Hey babe, we made it to payday. Hey babe, we're rich."
Hey babe, we made it to payday. Hey babe, we're rich.
When money has been tight in the past for Brooke and I, Brooke actually used to say, "Hey, we made it to payday, we're rich again," which I find tragically humorous. Then in the second stanza, it goes on to say, "It's a new month, new story, I'm a new man." So that whole act that the character of Payday is putting on, that whole like, "Oh baby, we're good now, right?" It's supposed to just like reek of an empty promise. Even the whole idea of starting so many lines with "Hey babe," I don't talk that way. It's supposed to seem like this really sleazy husband trying to like be all smooth, maybe even like borderline manipulative and disillusioned. Say, "Hi Holland." Can you get down? Get down. And I should add, what was so frustrating for me in times of financial struggle over the last few years was the fact that our income was increasing. I won't get too into that, but our income was increasing. It also just happened that we had some unexpected expenses occurring simultaneously, and it seemed like we were taking one step forward, two steps back. It really tested our faith in God to provide for us, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. So then we move to the middle section of the song where Brooke sings,
"Ooh, you're a state that works all right."
"You're a state that works" is actually a reference to Indiana's state motto of being a state that works. I was trying to kind of highlight the hardship that we were feeling at the time of like, yeah, Indiana, you work, but you're not working out so well for us, maybe for other people, but not for us. In reality, Indiana has been great to us and we've really flourished here. But when you're in the middle of a tough season, it's a really hard thing to stay level-headed about your situation. Okay, then the next line, "I can't let you stay up worried all night. It's not in our money that we can trust."
But I can't let you stay up worried all night. It's not in our money that we can trust.
That's really Brooke being the voice of reason in this song, which is not the only time that happens on the record. And my favorite of the whole song is the third verse because it has the line about, "We've been up on our tithing, he'll pluck us out of this mess." So earlier I was talking about increased expenses and how that really tested our faith in God. We were getting used to a new season of life, and we also had committed to tithe more than we ever had before. And that really tested our faith and made it tough on us, but we were committed to our word. We were committed to that decision that we had made, but it was still very frustrating to be so tight financially when our income was growing. So that last line, he'll pluck us out of this mess, after it you can hear a voice off to in the right channel. If you're listening on headphones, it says right.
Hey babe, we've been up on tithing. He'll pluck us out of this mess. Right?
And that is kind of my way of voicing my frustration with God in that season. And I wanted very badly on this record to accurately and honestly communicate my relationship with my Creator. And sometimes I get frustrated with God. And I think if you have a relationship with God, you're lying if you don't think that you ever get frustrated with Him or you ever get upset or angry with Him. Because we do. It's very human to do that, and He can take it. We can simultaneously be frustrated and upset with Him and still be in awe of His love and His provision for us. Or just like a child can be frustrated with a parent for disciplining them or teaching them a hard lesson, but the child still knows that the parent has their best interest at heart. All right, so that is the inspiration behind Payday as far as lyrics go. That's what it's about. That's some insight into what I was thinking when I wrote those lyrics and what I really intend for them to mean. So let's talk about production. The song started with the main melody riff that you hear. I'd actually been kicking around that riff since 2016. I envisioned it to be the sequel to a song that we made in 2016 called On Deaf Ears. I thought that riff that is in Payday, I thought that would be like kind of a On Deaf Ears Part 2.
Though your words may fall on deaf ears, doesn't mean they don't belong in the atmosphere.
So I had that riff and I recorded a demo of music that I would just listen to in the car on repeat, just trying to come up with a melody to go along with that groove. And you can hear a digital drum kit with that wood block, bass line, reverse guitar, drones. All of those aspects remained in the final version of the song. Most, if not all, were retracked, but all of those ideas remain in the final version. And the song is made up of that groove for almost all 2.5 minutes. And it's really just a drone over an E major chord. So I had to get really creative with the dynamics and the adding instruments, taking away instruments, just creating a lot of different space from section to section. To create the intro, I had this big swell in on an E major chord. The album ends on an E major chord as well. Till Death Do Us Part ends on an E major, and then Payday swells back in on an E major. So if you're listening on repeat, it's all connected by a big E transition. E for Eric. E for Eric. And it's got like that digital drum kit with the kind of like tinkering high piano that's like drenched in reverb. And then it goes to like that bass part that kind of serves as a hook for the song. I had it buried in the mix, but my friend Taylor Blythe was listening to a demo and he's like, dude, that's a hook. You need to bring that out. So I did, and I really liked the way that turned out. So thank you, Taylor. Right before verse 1 comes in, there are 2 pitch shifted vocals, one high, one low, and they both say, hey babe. That obviously is a repeated lyric throughout the whole thing. You might be saying like, why didn't you just have Brooke sing that? It's right in her range. And the answer is really simple. I really like the way pitch shifted vocals sound. They don't really sound human, which is something that I kind of like for some weird reason. Okay, you went poopy. And then we head into the bridge, which really opens the song up. There's a ton of stuff going on. Beautiful violin work from my friend Alan Kincaid. Lots and lots of synthesizers, mainly from the OP1. There's real drums and electronic drums. That all stays really big and opened up into a section that I call the cacophony. I'm just kidding, I don't actually call it that. I usually call it the turnaround. A lot of elements remain through that section, except I asked Alan to just like be frantic on his violin, like play within the key of E, mess up your rhythms, mess up the notes that you're playing, just like be totally scatterbrained. And we layered up several tracks of violin. And then from the turnaround to verse 3, there's a huge contrast. There's this big build up with backward vocals and stuff, and then it cuts to the third verse in the song, which basically just has my normal vocal track, a vocal track pitched higher and a vocal track pitched lower. There's a wood block keeping time, and there's like a really small guitar track that's kind of droning in the background. And then the outro is part of the bridge. Some of the violin returns, I have Brooke singing like way off mic. There's actually a pretty complicated noise bed going on that actually has some significance. There are 2 videos where I stripped the audio from them, and they're playing at the same time. One video is from Brooke in Holland, and one video is from me in Holland.
Which is not that easy because it's got the consistency of cleaned out.
There are also a couple tracks of manipulated vocals. I was reading a scripture verse from 1 Kings 17, it's verse 5b. It says, he went to the Kerith ravine east of the Jordan and stayed there.
Kerith ravine east of the Jordan and stayed there.
That is a verse about the prophet Elijah, who was a great inspiration to me throughout all of making Little Flock, specifically Hand-Sized Cloud. That whole song is about the prophet Elijah and what his story in 1 Kings meant to me and how it relates to my life. Lastly, there is a fretless bass going on. I wanted this in the bridge, but it was really too busy and it was muddying things up. So we ended up cutting it for the bridge, but we left it for the outro. And again, a big gnarly swell on an E major chord. For the end of Payday, it's a hard cut, which I think works well as a single track, but it works even better in context of the whole album because it cuts straight into the beginning of Suspended and Safe. But that's for another video. Thank you so much for checking out this video on Payday. This is the first official installment of Little Flock Deconstructed. I promise my delivery and video skills will get better as this goes on, but as a reminder, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at Eric J. Stoff. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week for another video of Little Flock Deconstructed. We'll be talking about Suspended and Safe. See ya.